The next guy that is Henry Ruggs, which seems to be one of the more kind of polarizing players in this upcoming draft. I've seen people. I remember, people getting caught up in like, vividness bias with him a couple of times this year on Twitter when he had a big play, and people are saying that he's the next Tyreek Hill, which is crazy because even Tyreek Hill is a little bit of an outlier, especially at his size. But they do have some at least similar traits. When I've kind of looked at them, I know that it's rumored that he ran a 4.25, which would be put him right around where Tyreek Hill is. Obviously, he only had a 13% target share, only a 17% dominator rating. Those aren't really great numbers to really go off of. He's 6 foot 190, which is a little bit bigger than what Tyreek Hill is. Some of the stuff with looking at him, I mean, he does have the ability to kind of go up and high point the ball. Has some, which is something that kind of separates Tyreek Hill at his size that a lot of guys his size can't do. But is that who he is, or is that way over bounds? And is he like? Because I think he could be anywhere from a Deshaun Jackson type all the way to maybe like just a Ted Ginn.
That's what it is when you play Alabama now. Why they're so different? They can attack you in so many different ways. They are not a one-dimensional offense anymore.
First down at the 22, threatening again. Pump fake one way, long ball the other. Touchdown. Well, they're going to say he's out. I don't know about that.
No, I don't either. Now, you are allowed to push him out, but I don't know if he did.
Now they say touchdown.
Yeah, I think that's a touchdown.
Yeah, so for me, I lean probably more towards the Ted Ginn comp. Henry Ruggs is a guy I don't think he's a bad wide receiver, but the glaring issues with his profile are the fact that he could never beat out any of the other talent at Alabama to solidify himself as an actual producing wide receiver there. So the issue becomes, and we can kind of like, if you want to strip away all the fancy numbers, even though that this is probably the best point I can make right now, but if you strip away everything, the fancy numbers, the speed, the film, and everything, and you maybe not the film, but if you look at just him in general, he was the third and sometimes fourth best wide receiver on that offense. But he ceded a lot of work to Jalen Waddle even last year too. Jalen Waddle is a phenomenal talent. Can't wait to get to him in the future. But throughout his entire career, he never was able to grab over it, even just past the threshold of about 20% of his team's offense. And in a high-powered offense like Alabama, who does spread the ball around, and we see guys like Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith have a considerable market share there. My issue is if intuitively, if you want to kind of disregard and say, we haven't seen teams that have had three NFL talent, first round NFL talent wide receivers on a single offense, I'd probably point you to maybe Clemson or Louisiana State, where Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. There's more than enough volume to go around for three wide receivers to pass a threshold of about 20%. And that only makes up about 60% of the overall passing volume. And then that's another 40% that's up to grabs for maybe another wide receiver or the running backs and the tight ends. You can divvy that up whatever way you want. But conceivably, it is not hard for three wide receivers to come in and have over 20% of the market share there. Henry Ruggs, just bottom line for me, he was not good enough to do it. And the issue that I have is people are saying, he's a first round wide receiver talent. Well, how much of that is being touted by other people telling us he is? Because the numbers don't add up there. The numbers definitely don't tell me that he is. The numbers tell me that he struggled to beat out Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle at times. And then when I see that, I see people touting him as a top 12 wide receiver. I even have, I've seen some people have him in that top 5, top 3 area. And for me, that's perplexing because if he couldn't do it at Alabama and he couldn't beat Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and whatever tight end that they had there and the running backs there, if he couldn't do that at Alabama, how can we expect him to transition to the NFL that has actual NFL talent and for him to be able to compete with those guys and have a considerable production trajectory throughout his career. I just don't see it, and we don't get very many Tyreek Hills. I think that we need to intuitively think about the way that we look at a guy like Henry Ruggs and how much we're really elevating his draft stock in terms of where he's going to go. I honestly think that teams that do want a speed element are going to draft him in the first round. And if he does go in the first round, we're going to have to consider it. We're going to have to consider that and take that for what it is. But even then, his overall profile suggests that even if he does have the first round draft capital, that he still only has situational upside. He's going to have to go to a team that doesn't have an overly dominant alpha wide receiver. I've said it before. I think a team like the New York Jets without Robbie Anderson would be probably a good situation because he's only going to be competing with Le'Veon Bell and Jamison Crowder there for targets. In that situation, he can have usable weeks. But if he goes anywhere, if he goes to the Vikings, or those are just where they have two alphas there, or if even the Packers that has one alpha, I'm very worried about his production and what that means for him, because he couldn't do it in college, and I'm very, very speculative that he'll be able to do it in the NFL. So I'm not willing to tag him with anything right now. I don't think he's a guy that I'm going to be on. He's somebody that I'm actually adamantly off right now. And take that for what you will, but I'm just cautious with guys like that. Historic metrics and historical does not favor a guy like Henry Ruggs, even if he does have the speed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. He was someone who I was excited to get to. I don't get a chance to watch too much college during this season, and from like Jesse, like you said, some people having him in their top 3, top 5. Like one of my buddies that I talk to all the time, he was really high on him, and I threw on the tape, and I was just like, "This is it?" Like he's fast. Like you're not going to take that away from him at all. He has a speed, but like this is like one of those things that Kev brought up with Rojo and the dreadlock thing. So because he's smaller framed and fast, that all of a sudden he's Tyreek Hill, like that doesn't make sense. And for me, like even his explosive speed, that initial quickness off the line, like I didn't really see it. Like it kind of takes him, 10 yards to get up to full speed. I thought someone like Jesse, you mentioned Laviska Shenault. I thought he had quicker burst off the line. Somebody like we'll be getting to here in a little bit, Brandon Ayuk. I thought he had better initial burst and quickness. So I'm glad I'm not alone on being lower on Ruggs.
I feel like with him as well, I think that another thing to mention is when we were talking about landing spot is he's also going to need to go to a team that's going to be willing to throw the ball to him deep down the field. Because if he gets paired with a quarterback who likes to check it down or something like that, then that is going to be the utmost terrible spot for him as well. So I think there's a lot of factors for him to really pan out at the next level and not turn into be a John Ross type of career trajectory where they just really haven't been able to take off. So I think that is something to mention with him. And so yeah, like I'm not super high on him either, but I just know that he seems to be somebody that a lot of people are in love with. And I think it's the speed. And you're right. I would be surprised if he wasn't a first round or an early second round pick because of that speed. Teams love that speed. And we saw last year the Chiefs kind of go out of nowhere where nobody was, really expecting McCole Hardman to go in the second round of drafts, and the Chiefs went up and got him because of his speed. So we just kind of see this type of player go high every year. And so, is he going to be that? I don't know. Is he going to reach a Deshaun Jackson type of, level? I think that is a little bit wishful thinking. And I think he can end up being more of a Ted Ginn type. So it'll be fun to watch with him. And I know Twitter is going to lose their minds at the combine whenever he runs his 40 and sees him in shorts. So anyways.
The one thing that I do want to say is I hope that he does have a really impressive combine. I really do, because that is going to push real talent like Tyler Johnson and Jalen Reagor and T. Higgins and other guys of that nature down my rookie drafts, and I am here for it. I will probably target the guy that I know loves Henry Ruggs, and I will probably trade back in my draft to accumulate a couple more picks just so I can get over on that guy. This is an exploitable piece, people. This is what you're supposed to do in fantasy. Make sure you're targeting people like this. Make sure you exploit the Henry Ruggs lovers in this draft, because they will be there, and they will come, and they will pay for him, and you will be right there to take their money.